Hello, Solar People, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Trey. And for the month of February, this 28 days, I want to make a 32-page coloring book / activity book using my character, Beautiful Beast Kiss, and her friends as the subject. And this is all for the purpose of learning Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, and forming a habit of making something within a limited time. So in this video, I'm going to go over my process for art, how I import my art into the program of Adobe Illustrator, how to touch it up, and most of the functions that I use within the program. So let's go. So for this February coloring book / activity project that's 32 pages, I always start off with just rough sketches. So here I have one page of just doodles that can become coloring book illustrations. And they're just very loose, very rough. I barely have, there's anything there, but I select from this something that I can use later. But these gestures are to get out all my ideas. And on this second page, I'm starting to get into a flow. The gestures become more refined from the chicken scratch of before, just a little bit touched up. And then for the third page, I'm doing this full character grouping that I think would be good as a team shot. So we always go from loose, rough, to more refined. For today's video, we need something to work off of, to work from in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to do some quick heads of our characters to see if I can, import this and then see if I can remember how it goes, because I haven't used the program in a few months. So to get myself back into shape, I need something to work off of. So I'm doing these heads of the characters, Beautiful Beast Kiss and her friends. We have at the upper left, Beautiful Beast Kiss. The robot buddy I'm calling a Starbot for now. The lower on the right, upper right, lower left is the Moon Tiger, also called Demon Cat for now. And the lower right is Moktun, the Mock Turtle. Now I've opened Illustrator and we're going to get started with some of the very, very basics of the program. And this is mainly for those who have a project, which I recommend having a project, and then working through that project with a certain program. So this is Adobe Illustrator, and I'll be making the coloring book in this program for cleaner lines and whatnot. But I am no master. I am no professional. I am very much at the beginning-ish level. I've been using it for about 2 years, and everything I've learned about the program is from YouTube and some of the resources that I have used. This one is a big one. Adobe Illustrator for Beginners, the free course, Envato Tuts. And this is one of the best resources that I learned. Everything I'm about to go through or try to show others. Right? Everything I learned pretty much is from this one right here, Envato Tuts. It's about, how long is this? 3 hours and 17 minutes. So it's quite lengthy and it's really, really good. I'll have all the links for the sites I'm going to show you are going to be in the description below. So we have this one also. Brad Colbow, Adobe Illustrator for Beginners, Sketch to Victor tutorial. Another really good one. And this one's shorter at 31 minutes. But this one's really good. Thank you, Brad. And I learned a lot from this one. But also Yes, I'm a designer. Learn to draw anything with Adobe Illustrator CC. So these are the three that I learned a great deal from. And I'd still say I'm at the beginning level, trying to get better, but these three resources right here are fantastic. So let's get on with what I am going to demonstrate. So first we're going to talk about how to get a sketch into the program, just like so. And there's two ways to do it. You can go New File, which is right here, or the shortcut, which is Command N for new, Command New, Command N. But let's touch this. New File, and it pretty much doesn't matter because you can scale it up and down, so you can choose what you want the size to be for your own purposes. So let's just take this beginning one right here. And we'll create this. RGB is fine. We'll title it after we've done a couple things in the program. Orientation landscape, but you can do other orientation if you wish. And let's create this. And so here we go. Now, to get an image into the program, or something that I've sketched out beforehand, which is a great way to a jumping off point. So File, and then Place. So File, go down to Place. It's between Search, Adobe Stock, and Generate Vectors. Place. Hit that. And then I already have things worked out in a file. I have a file system to keep everything organized, but I have a BBK and Friends coloring book files, and in it I have this screenshot that I took. I take a lot of screenshots nowadays and just to plug them in. So we got the screenshot, Place. Now this is just by touching the screenshot, the example, and then hitting Place. And then you'll see this little image, and you touching the upper left corner, sliding it down, and staying within the white of the screen. And there we have the image brought in or placed in. But you'll notice something from how I'm going to do it next time, that the lines are all as dark as they were when I took the screenshot. And then I can make new layers on top of this. And you don't have to create new layer, create another new layer, and another new layer. Now you don't need a lot of layers. I do for my process because I like to keep things organized in a color system and a naming convention, but I'll show that later. But 3 layers is enough for just practice and whatnot. But so there's this. Let's do this once more. So Command N, and we'll use that same size. So create, and everything's pretty much the same. Oh wait, yeah, pretty much the same. Okay, so it's a blank. And again, we're going to place. File, go down to Place, which is also what? Shift. Command Shift P for place, if I'm correct in that. Now, when we see this, when we see this thing, at the bottom, just above Hide Options and the Cancel, are these little check marks. And I first hit Screenshot. So there's the screenshot that I took, and go to Template. So once you have the screenshot or the sample that you want to bring in selected, don't touch anything else, but go just above the Hide Options and the Cancel and Place right? There's these three buttons: link, template, and show import options. I hit template, and then once that's checked, we'll make sure it's checked. We hit place. Now it's really large. So scale out. The template, it's on its layer, and then there's a layer above it. If you'll notice that, that's a difference, a big difference. So we're gonna hit the link or unlock that layer. So it's unlocked. I touch it, and then I scale it down with the free transform tool. I hold shift so it stays in its proper shape. And I bring it down to within the size. Move it to your leisure. And now I hit the lock button so it's locked. Now, what you'll notice between this one and this one, scale this up a little bit or zoom in a bit. Notice between this one and this one, and this one. This one, the first one that we did, it's all on that first layer, and then we made new layers on top of that. While the second one, right, it brought it in, it locked this layer, and then had another layer on top of it. And you'll also notice that it is faded back. What we brought in is faded back compared to the first one. And why I like this one better is that the lines are knocked back so that when I do put my Illustrator lines in, I can see them very clearly on top of this faded back one. And I think I learned that from Envato Tuts. Name my artwork, or whatever this file is going to be. So I save it to my computer, and then I have an Illustrator file, and within that Illustrator file, I have more files and whatnot. But the AI, Adobe Illustrator, will be the designator for this, but we will call this, what is it, BBK _ friends, friends _ heads. Make sure that it's in the file that I need. It looks like it, so yes, save it. I just say yes to this, okay, and we're ready to go. And this one, this was just an example. I can delete and don't save. Now, for myself, like I said, you don't need many layers, but I myself make a lot of layers. And the reason is that I like to keep everybody separate. Like I want his group, Beautiful Beast Kisses group, DC's group, Mock Tons group. I would say about 3 to 5 separate layers that I can manipulate, but I also color code them. All right, so let's end this video with going over the program Adobe Illustrator and go over my most used items within the program. And this is what you see when you start the program, and it shows you all the stuff that you have made previously. There's open, new file, which are the most used. So new file. Of these, the new documents tab, right, there's saved, mobile, web, print, branding, social, art and illustration, film and video, and free templates. This is just a short demo, so we don't have to worry about any of that. Now, you can title, if you know what your project's going to be. Usually I title it after I place in my art. I don't know why that's just become a thing of mine. There's an area where you can change pixels, points, inches, centimeters, whatever metrics that feels most comfortable for you. And we have the color mode, RGB color, but there's also CMYK. Now the difference between these two is CMYK is mostly for print, to be seen in print. If you're going to make something in the program and you know for 100% certain that it is going to be printed, CMYK is your best bet. But because of the rise of digital, there's a lot of tablets, computers of all types, PCs, smartphones even. It's a small screen where it's emitting light. And that is where I use RGB, and I use this the most often. Now, usually at your printer, your print shop, if it's going to be printed, they'll have guidelines about what it should be. But for myself personally, I mostly stay RGB, say create. All right. So this is a blank canvas. On the left, we have all the icons of things that we can do within the program. There's the the selection tool, where you move objects. The direct selection tool, which is right next to it. So there's like a black arrow and a white arrow. And the direct selection tool, you can adjust points, anchor points, and then arm for the anchors. You can move those around. I use these very frequently. There's the pen tool, which I use the most. There's also the curvature pen tool right next to it, but I don't really use this one much. It's usually always the pen tool. Type for text, if you need that. What else? Shapes. If I hold it, there we go. There's rectangle, rounded rectangle tool, ellipse, polygon, star, and a flare tool I've never seen before. The shortcut keys for the rectangle tool is M, and for the ellipse, it is L. And also I use is this the shape? Yeah, shape builder tool, and the live paint bucket. Shift M and K are the hotkeys for both of these, but I use these fairly often, but usually at the end of my total process when I'm going to add color. But since this is a coloring book, I won't be using much of this one in this. On the far right, screen right, we have the properties, the layer, and these two I use the most often. Properties tab and the layers tab. Let's add a couple more layers. This layers tab, okay. But there's also library, swatches for colors, but we can get that through properties tab, and I'll show that in a moment. Brushes and symbols, but let's go back to the layers. So if we have a layer selected, and in Illustrator, it's a lossless format that is vectors instead of rasters or pixels that can get blurry around the edges when blown up. So it's, a lossless or a vector is simpler in design, but also is more stable in that if you blow it up and shrink it down, it can hold its edge a lot better. So let's make some shapes, shall we? So we're on the layer. Shapes. Let's make a few. So let's make a square. Let's hold shift. And that's a square. Let's go to properties and fill. These are going to be used very often. Fill and stroke. Fill and stroke. Fill is currently the square and it's white. Let's change it to a color like, say, a yellow. So we've got a yellow square. Let's make a circle. So hold it for a moment. ellipse tool. If you hold shift and drag, just now need a yellow circle, but again, fill. And let's make it a blue circle. How about a rectangle? So let's go back to the rectangle tool. And don't hold the shift, and just, you can shape it how you wish. And we'll make this a green. And what else can we, let's make a triangle. So for a triangle, you can use the polygon tool. Make a shape, touch that shape. Excuse me. Option, there we go. So I tapped it while holding down the option button, and this little prompt comes up, and you can change the number of sides. And a triangle has 3 sides. So, okay. We will delete this, delete, and make a green triangle. Now the direct select tool, or selection tool, which is V for the move. Let's move that. Let's touch that and get rid of it. Delete. All right, back to the triangle. And we can okay, so let's alter it, right? Instead of moving it, we'll go to the direct select tool, direct select, and we can touch a point, an anchor, and then we can move it. So let's adjust it. A taller triangle, wider. This is how you can make finer adjustments. And let's make this a different color. So let's say a red. Ooh, an orange. Orange triangle. So these are the basic shapes. And this is how I usually get to the color. This is colors in brief. Tap off to the side to get rid of that. Now let's go back to the selection tool with the V. Oh wait, now let's stay with the A, the direct selection tool. Touch the circle. Now, if we go to the outer edge, which is the path, right? If we want to increase the stroke can be increased here under this stroke. And we can turn it up to give it a wider or more visible outside edge. And I usually go around 5 for myself, is my widest, the most pronounced of the strokes. And then within a figure, I usually do less and less, like 4 points, 3 points of the stroke. Now, if we touch one of these anchor points, these arms come out, if you can see that. These are arms that help control the shape of this circle. And if you take one of them, grab it, and then if you shift it, it warps the shape. You can extend it, you can make it shorter. But yeah, there's a lot of adaptability that you can have. Let's Command Z to undo that. But yeah, it's how you can adjust, grab the anchor point, and make different shapes using anchor points and the arms. And I use this a lot. It's one of the primary reasons the shapes can hold their form and they're nice and crisp. And I use the anchors and the arms a lot. Now, if you want to break an arm, well, I'll go into that in a moment. Okay, but the pen tool, let's go to, I'll step back. Command Z, 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 Z. Okay. The pen tool. And with the pen tool, let's make a straight line, right? So you touch where the start point, hold shift, and it'll make a straight line. And then you touch where you want it to end. Now you can see this blue line. That is where you can place the next line, right? It gives you an indicator where that's going to be. Or you can just end the line by hitting escape, the escape button on the keyboard, and it just ends the line. You can reactivate the line by touching the anchor point with the pen tool. And then you can continue from there. Shift if you want another straight line to the endpoint. Now, this is the fill. And there will be times where you want the fill, and there will be times where you don't want the fill. Right now, I do not want the fill. So you go to the fill, and there is this little white square with the red line through it. Touch that, and that means no fill. I use this a lot. And I turn things on and off depending on the situation, but mostly I leave it off until I want to fill a shape with a certain color. But mostly it's off. Touch off to the side to get rid of that box. Escape to end that line. So let's make a curvy, a wave motion. So we touch, we go to the top of where I want the curve to start. And I touch and hold, touch and hold. And now the arm comes out and I can extend the arm to make a smoother curve, right? Varying degrees of curve. And if I hold the shift, the arm will go out straight. And I can release. And there is my first wave. Now, I could also, I'll show you that. Touch and then drag out that arm. Shift, I want it straight, but I'm just gonna leave it loosey-goosey. Let it go. Go to my next high point. Come out with that arm. Bottom. And then you can repeat this. Right. This is just practice. We're just trying to get used to how certain things go. I'm trying to get back into the flow. I haven't done this in a while. Now, another thing I do quite often is I touch, hold, pull out that arm. Let's hold the shift to make that straight. Okay. Now, if I want to break this arm, I hold Command. Is it Command or Option? Okay, I think it's Option. Hold down Option and click on the anchor point. And that will break that arm. It is now gone. Now, why would I do that? I do that because when I make a new point and say do this, it makes a sharper corner, right? It makes that come out a bit. And that's because I broke that arm. If I don't break that arm and want to do the same thing, right? You see there's a difference. This bends smoother than this sharp. And so when I'm doing, say, hair, for example, I like to have this, a broken arm, anchor point. But if I want a smoother, curvier line, I keep the arms and I don't break it. We'll get more into that in the example I'll set for Friday. But let's just keep making shapes. It doesn't have to be complex. And you can move the points afterwards. Like, okay, say I just wanted to end the line. Escape for the end. And then go to the selection tool with V. And you can move the whole thing. A for the direct selection tool. And you can move, touch an anchor point, and you can move that anchor point. So if you want to move the whole thing, that would be V. If you wanted to move a piece of it, it would be A. It takes a little getting used to, but once you get it, you get it. And you can manipulate the arms, shortening arms, which is, I do that sometimes. Whoops. And if you off click, like I just did, hit near where the anchor point is, it'll bring the arm back. And then you can touch it and then move it. So this is the basics of Illustrator. And this is the stuff I use a lot. Like I don't know much about the program. I know about 20%, and I can get what I need from it with that 20%. For you and what you need, there might be some digging and some learning to do, but I'm also here to learn, to see, what else can I learn? But it's a fun program to use. That was the very, very basics, or the things that I use the most in the program, Adobe Illustrator. On Friday, we're going to go over the heads again. Let's save this. So Command-Shift-S. I'm going to save it to my computer. Let's say test 2_2 in my file, and save it. Okay. Always save your work. Let's close that out. So on Friday, we're going to work through this. I'm going to show you my way around making these heads in Illustrator as a hopefully short demo. I'm shooting for half an hour, but we'll see. So I have been Trey. Thank you for joining me. Power to the creators. You can find my work at treyhodges.com. And I will see you in the next video. Take care, keep shining. Bye.